What is up, guys? As we can tell, we are in somewhat of a different little situation here. And that is because in my last, my DIY sprayed edges video. So by the time this goes up, that'll be probably a month ago. I'll still leave it linked in the cards if you haven't gone to watch that and you're interested in painting the edges of your books, I said that I wasn't a fan of reading vlogs, and I'm still really not, but I do spend a lot of time in the car. And so while at some point I was spending that time listening to audiobooks, that time isn't really a thing anymore. Like, I don't know, audiobooks and me, we're just not clicking at the moment. It's okay, we're gonna take a break, I'll come back in a little bit. But I do spend a lot of the time on my way to work, as I am right now, sort of hashing my way through the books that I'm reading, and it's really sad. I think that just admitting that it sounds like a very sad endeavor, but it works for me. So those like 30-minute reviews you get, those aren't even like the first time I've sat down and talked to myself about a book. I just do that without the camera. So hopefully, if this doesn't come out like too fucking shaky and gross looking, this will become a thing where we do some car vlogs, we drive around, I go to work, and I hash through that. But this, I'm going to try and limit it, and by when I say try, I'm definitely going to something that I've wanted to do for a while now, that I've been very conflicted about. So, as I think I announced this in like March, all I wanted to do for March was read Cassandra Clare's books. I just wanted to finally finish her Mortal Instrument series. I wanted to get through the Infernal Devices. I wanted to get through the Dark Artifices. I wanted to be done with Cassandra Clare. I wanted to, live my happy life, which has been something that's really been hard to do for me, because when it comes to Cassandra Clare, I'm a very conflicted person, because she's done a bunch of like weirdness in her personal life that's just weird. It's just weird. I think she was like that OG author who was out here doing shit she shouldn't have been doing, making comments she should have like sat down on, but she just benefited from the fact that she was doing this in like 2010, 2007, 2008, I don't think that Cassandra Clare would be as successful today if the Mortal Instruments debuted like 3 years ago. That's all I have to say about that. But that is neither here nor there. So for a long time, though, my personal distaste for some of the actions she's done in the past have really kept me from reading her works. And when I say reading her works, I really just mean buying them, because I felt really, I don't know, like, there are some things, like when I bought my spray paint at Hobby Lobby, I did not feel gross doing that. But when I go to the store and I buy a Mortal Instruments book, I do feel a little bit gross. And speaking of, I did today go out and I bought 8 of them. So she got her little pennies for me today on this afternoon. I tweeted about how I went to Barnes & Noble and I bought too many books. I bought $94 worth of Cassandra Clare's books. So shout out to that Memorial Day coupon. Hopefully some of y'all watching this use that. You could have saved 20%. This is $100 worth of books. I mean, I didn't save like I would have saved if I bought them secondhand, but again, neither here nor there. So I went out and I bought all of the Mortal Instruments books that I did not own. So I bought books 3 through 6. My covers do not match, but for right now, I'm not really bothered by that. I just wanted to have them to complete this project. I did not want to have to worry about due dates at the library in the month of June, so I'm reading from my shelf, even if that means going out and buying books. So I bought all of those. I bought the complete Infernal Devices, and I bought Lord of Shadows. I was tempted to pick up Queen of Air and Darkness, but this is another thing I have to Cassandra Clare. Her spines are really pretty, and I liked the paperback spines, so I bought Lord of Shadows, my bad, in paperback. And my thought process is, if I finish all of the ones that I own, right, so I read all the Mortal Instruments, read all of the Infernal Devices, read all of the Dark Artifices, the first 2 of which now I own. The most time I get to Queen of Fire and Darkness, if that book is not out in paperback, then I'll just check that one out from the library. But I have no sort of like illusion that I'm going to get through the 8 books that I bought today. 8, 7, I don't know how many fucking books I bought. That's real sad. Might have been 7, because I didn't buy Queen of Air and Darkness. And I did not repurchase Lady Midnight, even though that one was on sale. Didn't do it because I was like, I'm good. So I'm going to read the ones that I own, which is literally the only ones I don't are Queen of Air and Darkness, all of the novella collections. I've heard that some of the novella collections are actually important to the story, but we're just not gonna, I don't fuck with novellas, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna read through, and then if I want to go back and read the novellas, I will. So that's my plan on that one. I'm not gonna reread City of Bones because I just read that one a couple months ago. So I picked up City of Ashes starting today. And if we were just to go over my brief history with the Shadowhunter Chronicles, I jumped on this bandwagon back in 2008. I think it was the summer. Yeah, it was like 2008. Might have been the summer of 2009. It was right at the end of my middle school career. I found the City of Bones audiobook at my public library, and I went, and well, I didn't go. I was already there, so I checked it out, and I fell in love with the audiobook. I thought that to 8th grade Monty, like, this whole urban fantasy situation blew my mind. At that point in my life, I hadn't really read a lot of fantasy, and I think that even today, I would say I'm not really a huge fantasy reader. I don't know where I got that impression that I was, but I definitely don't think that's accurate. So this urban fantasy situation really, I don't know, like, it really I just took to it. I was really invested in this urban fantasy setting, and I really loved that first audiobook. City of Ashes, though, is where I kind of fell out of love with the books. I was not as huge a fan of City of Ashes. I thought that it was just really boring. It was really hard to get through, and I didn't get through that book until like 2010 for the first time. And at that point, I was sort of like, you know what, I finished that one. I don't really want to continue on with the series. So then it was in 2012 I came back to the franchise. It was right before City of Heavenly Fire was coming out. And I only remember this because I was sat in Barnes & Noble every day for a week reading books 1 through 5. I read each of those monstrous books in a day, and I thought that they were okay. I remember thinking that the first 3 were actually a solid trilogy. It was sort of after the hype. I wasn't really in a book community situation. I wasn't, I was just vaguely watching booktube videos at that point, but again, like, it was just me reading books that I already heard about. I had already read the first 2, and I wanted to see what had happened. So I remember when I picked up City of, what is it, Fallen Angels? Is that book 4, or is it Lost Souls? I don't know. I think it's Fallen Angels, though. I remember thinking of the second trilogy was just complete fan service, and it did not need to exist at all. I thought that it felt repetitive when we, had similar, I don't want to say similar storylines, but I didn't need incest back in this franchise after we had eliminated it, Like, I thought that was just completely unnecessary. So at that point, by the time I finished Lost Souls or Fallen Angels, whichever one, I think Lost Souls is book 5, whatever one is book 5, I decided not to pick up Heavenly Fire because Heavenly Fire was like thick, and it's still fucking thick. I mean, I can't lie. I think that Alec Lightwood was one of the first gay characters that I read in a fiction book, and in 8th grade, again, that was something that really meant a lot to Monty. It meant a lot to Monty that he had that relationship with Magnus Bane, but Monty, sitting here as a 23-year-old, thinks it's kind of weird that a 400-year-old warlock is sitting here trying to fuck a 16-year-old. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of weird to me. It's just weird. Like, it just is. Like, that. And I say that fully as someone who has read many an age gap and not had an issue. So I understand that a lot of that is also just my personal biases seeping in. And I think I'm gonna go now. Hey, checking in again. I say checking in. This is probably going to be a pretty lengthy clip, and I'm just going to have to accept the fact that the sun hates me when it's coming up, and this is the lighting that we're going with. Super washed out, super overexposed, but it's a vlog, so I'm not really sure what kind of exposure a person needs to have in a vlog, because this isn't something I typically do. And I don't plan on doing this again. I'm doing this because I'm reading the Mortal Instruments, if that was not somehow clear. And when I say Mortal Instruments, I mean all of the chronicles. So let's talk, okay? So I just got off work approximately 10 minutes ago. And by approximately, I mean I definitely clocked out 10 minutes ago. And I am on my way to Denny's. But let's talk City of Ashes. This is the 5th time or so, approximately, that I've read this book. It'll only be the 2nd, 3rd time that I've finished it in its entirety, so love that for me. I think what really I'm on around page 250. I'm obviously driving, so I'm not gonna be sitting here holding up a book. That would be crazy. I'm on approximately page 250 though. I'm just a little over halfway through the book. And I think what I have found the most shocking is just how fast things happen in this series. I read book 1 back in February, beginning of March, that time, end of February, beginning of March. So I can't really talk about the pace of events in City of Bones. But halfway through the book in City of Ashes, you know, we already have Simon has just become a vampire, which is my favorite part of the series. I'm aware that doesn't apparently stay, but you know, Vampire Simon is my favorite Simon. I also just really like Simon, although he's a lot more creepy in this book than I remember him being, and he's like, I don't know, like, he low-key gives me, like, if I didn't really like him, you know, and I wasn't biased to appreciate him as a character, I would be giving him major side-eye, like, 30% of the time, because he just says stuff, and it makes me feel like, it just makes me feel very uncomfortable. So Simon is a vampire. Valentine is trying to turn the soul sword demonic or whatever he's doing. I don't really care about him. I don't really think that he ever really feels like a threat. I also was just a little astounded at just how I knew that incest was like a major component of this first part of the trilogy, or this first set of books, but like, and to be fair, the second set of books too, but I think that it's a little creepy just how casually it's thrown into the narrative. And yes, I think that Clary does challenge it, but I think that it's like, I appreciate Jace as a character at times. Not all the time, but at times I appreciate Jace as a character. Usually when he's talking with Simon, because I feel like that's a relationship I can get behind. Like, to me, I think that him and Clary are both just weird for totally being down to still fuck each other when they're related. And I guess Jace gets props for at least admitting that to himself and everyone, but I think that's just weird. Like, that's very hard for me to get past. It just is. It obviously can't be for a lot of people because this is, you know, still a well-beloved series, but I think that's very questionable that that's still a prominent plot point at this juncture in the narrative. So that's where I'm at. I'll probably check in later today. Maybe I'll go back tomorrow. I'm flying through this. I fully expect to be done with this book by Monday, or at least to finish it on Monday. So those are my thoughts. And I'll check in, like I said, later. Bye. What is up? I am back on my way to work. This is going to be a very quick update because I haven't done a whole lot of reading since I was at Denny's this morning. First thing, I feel like there's a lot of very disclaimer. As a gay man, I often read into just regular platonic interactions between two male characters in a way that I find would satisfy me and what I want from a narrative. But I feel like all of the dialogue between Simon and Jace is very homoerotic, and in a situation where we're meant to believe at this point in the narrative that Jace and Clary are like siblings. Could you not use it? Okay, they were using a blinker. My bad. Apologies to the soul. But in a situation where we're meant to believe that Jace and Clary are related, right? And like that's still where your main romance is like revolving, which is weird. I'm sorry, but it's just, I think I talked about this in my clip earlier. I don't know if I'm gonna use that because that son was not my friend. But in this world where we're meant to believe that they are related and siblings and still rooting for them, and all of the characters in the book are somehow like pushing them to be together from the Seelie Queen. Like, it's just a little weird. It's weird. Like, that shit don't make sense. I'm sorry, Susan. Like, that's just stop. But in that world, I think that it's perfectly valid for readers to search out other relationships. And I think that Jason Simon really presents itself as something that is there to appreciate. And I commented on this morning, but I'm astounded at like just how much stuff happens and how quickly it happens. But I don't get the feeling that it's like rushed. Like earlier today, like last night when I was reading, Simon and Clary were a couple, and then they were like low-key broken up. We had the whole situation of the Fairy Queen. Then he became a vampire. Now him and Maya have been kidnapped. Like, we're just moving. We are moving through these story beats, but you know, I appreciate them. I don't know why when I was younger, this was my least favorite book. Like, I thought this was so slow and really hard to get through. I don't know if this is like the best written book I've ever read, but I do appreciate how snappy it is and how it doesn't feel like I was saying rushed. So that's where I'm at. I'm gonna go now. This is gonna be a short clip. I understand this is like vlog style, but I still have no interest in holding in my camera. If you hear things in the background, someone's in the shower, because apparently midnight is not too late to take one, and whatever. But on to City of Ashes. When I was younger, this was my least favorite. It took me like 4 different times to finish it because I thought it was really slow and boring. And in retrospect, I think that's because there is no Alec and Magnus. Like, both of those characters are very like in the background. They get paid to dust. Even compared to Izzy, I would say. Izzy is also a character that's very much a background character. We don't really spend as much time with her. They even think that her storylines get developed far more than Malik does in this book. And they had some really nice moments, and I think that Alec had a couple of really great character moments in City of Ashes. But there was still nothing there. So I think when I was younger and that was happening, I wasn't feeling it, and even today I wasn't. But I was also able to appreciate everything else that happened in this book, because this book is less than 500 pages, and nothing, there's literally not 10 pages that something isn't happening. There's not a new development. So I did appreciate that aspect of the novel, and I appreciated that we were doing that. I also appreciated all of the Simon, Jace back and forth. In a book where we're still believing that Clary and Jace are brother and sister, their flirting was gross and disgusting. Cassandra Clare is out here having half of Clary's thoughts be how she wants to still fuck Jace, and Jace could still get it, and she has deep emotional love for him that is creepy, but we don't talk about that at all. I understand where the series goes, but at the same time, like, in this moment, in her present, they're still related. And she still wants to jump on his dick. So that was creepy. But also, all of the Simon, Jace interactions felt very homoerotic to me. Not gonna lie. It did. It just did. I also didn't realize how fast we went from Simon is turned into a vampire to Simon is a daylighter. Like, literally within 100 pages, 150 pages. within the same book that happened. And I thought that was like a City of Glass thing, and I would have been sorely mistaken. So, shows how much I paid attention the first time I read this series. What is up? This is going to be the ugliest, like, lighting imaginable because it's late as fuck. And I just got off work. And by late as fuck, it's really only, what, 8 o'clock? 8:13, something like that? I don't know. And I'm taking off my shoes because I'm that weirdo that cannot drive in tennis shoes. But I read a lot today, actually. I managed to read, like, 240 pages on my break and on my lunch. So, love that for me. Now that my shoes are off, we can drive away and discuss. We are going to grab some McDonald's, but as I drive in that direction, I thought that I would update you guys because I feel like this is what a vlog is. You know, vlogs are not always high quality lighting, and we already got myself super overexposed a couple days ago, so here we are. Okay, so City of Glass. So much has happened in this book, and before I get into any of it, I just need to say that the only character that I care about right now is Aileen Penhallow. I'm pretty sure that is her last name. I'm pretty sure she is our second Asian character. Okay, so Aileen Penhallow is my favorite character at the moment. Oh god, we is real dark. This is making me, I don't know, I guess this is that light skin privilege though, where you can still kind of see me. Okay, so Aileen Penhallow, like I said, she's the bae. She's my favorite. Aileen Penhallow, definitely my favorite. Oh my god, this is real ugly. This is not a cute look for Monty. Wow, okay. Just ruining my self-esteem. Maybe if I go to settings and I go to display. Mode on day mode, will that give me some brightness? There we go. Okay, so I'm like underlit in the fucking dark, but here we are. Thank you to the car and my GPS situation. Okay, so Aileen, let's talk about what's happening in City of Glass. Starts off with Clary, you know, making her little portal that gets fucked up. She winds up in Lake Lynn in Idris, outside of Alicante, out here hallucinating and shit because she drank half the lake. Luke is out here, I guess he jumped in after her. I don't know, that was just very convenient to me. It was a very convenient moment. Didn't really fuck with it, but you know, they didn't ask me. So you have that. You have Simon, who has been imprisoned by the new Inquisitor, Aldertree. That man's a little bitch. We don't fuck with him. Jace is out here. Oh, this is what I wanted to talk about. Can we talk about, I feel like it was after Clary and Jace went to is it the Fairchild Manor, the Morgenstern Manor, whatever manor house they went to, I forget. It was one of their parents' manors. Talk about white privilege. They went to the little manor house and they found the Book of the White and they found the chained up angel ethereal. And I think that was when they thought that the Jace had demon blood in him. And they tried to talk. There was like this whole conversation about how they had these incestuous thoughts because Jace had demon blood. And bitch, when I tell you I cackled. And by cackled, I mean I was silent because I read that part waiting in line to punch in. So I was not about to do that in the middle of the office. But if I had been alone in this vehicle reading that, I thought it was weird. But also, I continue to not be impressed by the fact that their incestuous feelings are very not challenged on the page. Like, yes, they talk about how they're wrong, but both of them are still fully willing to commit to hopping on each other. Like, if he pulled out his dick right now where I'm at on page, like, I think I saw it on like page 300, because I wanted to be that person. right now, Clary would be like, you know what, thank you, Jace, and she would hop right on that. And I'm just like, that's weird. That's weird. That's weird. So there's that. And I think that's really all I have to say. Like, right now, everything is falling to shit. You know, the demons are attacking. We just found out that Sebastian isn't really Sebastian. Where Max just died. Spoiler alert, I guess. But if you're watching the Shadowhunters reading vlog and you saw that it was like 3 hours long, I don't know how long this reading vlog is going to be. Last night, I finally uploaded all of my clips to YouTube. Because I'm filming all of this vlogging on my phone. So I uploaded all of my clips to YouTube from my phone. Then I downloaded them onto my computer so I could edit them. Because I'm not trying to edit this on iMovie on my phone. Like, that's just not going to be a thing that happened. We're gonna pause for a second so I can order my McDonald's because I'm here. So we'll be back. He died off page, and it was like, who was I watching? I think I was watching, was it the princess? I think it was the princess over at Castle Library. She was doing a tag. I want to say it was like the no disclaimers tag. She was doing, I feel like in my bones it was the princess. I could be wrong. If it wasn't them, feel free to come at me. But she was talking, or they were talking about how Max dying in City of Glass was like really sad, and how they thought that Max was meant to die in City of Ashes and he didn't, and then he died in the next one. I don't know about that, but I do know that Max dying was not at all sad. He died off page. Like, we don't even know how he died. Like, he's like, they literally just show up at the Hall of Accords and he's dead. Like, there was literally no emotional stakes in that other than Max was 9 years old. Like, so that's that. I feel like that's literally everything I have to say about everything that's going on so far. I have my nuggets, I can go. I feel like that's everything I have to say. Again, just like in City of Ashes, stuff is always happening in City of Glass, and I really appreciate that. Hot and fresh. So, shout out to that aspect of the book. But yeah, I don't really... I'm appreciating it, like I'm enjoying the journey, but the incest and the fact that I don't feel like we really get to spend enough time with any of the characters. A lot of that is because every chapter has like a mini cliffhanger element to it that I don't really fuck with. And we jump around in terms of like character groups quite frequently, and they're very rarely all together, and so I don't know, I feel like that was just like a thing that I hadn't really expected that turned out to be a thing that was included in the novel. And I'm still sort of processing my emotions on that narrative choice. So there's that. I am looking forward to finishing this, and then like I've said many a time, I'm going to be jumping in to the Infernal Devices. Now that will be the first time that I've read the Infernal Devices, so I am kind of excited because I've heard nothing but like good things about that series for like literally a decade. So high expectations. But even though this is the second time I've read City of Glass, I'm appreciating it more than I did the first time, because again, I read for the first time in a day. And I don't really think that I fucked with Aileen Penhallow. And do we get to see more of her? I would say let me know in the comments, but I'm not uploading this until maybe I will do this in parts. I'll have to see how long this sort of thing winds out being. I'm gonna leave this clip here. Thanks for watching. See you guys when I see you, which will be in the next clip. Bye. Hello. 1 second while I back up. As of filming this clip, I have not actually... I take that back. I read a little bit more of Sadie Glass last night while I was brushing my teeth. I tried to, read while I'm brushing my teeth so that I know I'm brushing for long enough. So I tried to aim for, a good 10, 15 pages or so, but nothing really happened that I wanted to talk about. Instead, what I wanted to bring up was I was watching the May Trashback Book Club book discussion about, I think it was Immortal Rules or something by Julie Kagawa. I didn't read the book, but I needed something to listen to as I was driving home, because after I filmed that bit in the dark that you saw, I didn't want to sit in my car in silence, and so I was listening to that as I drove home. And I think it was Heather that brought up the fact that, I guess, vampire lore, where the vampires survive on, animal blood isn't really something that she fucks with. She thinks that's kind of a cop-out. And she talked about Twilight, but it made me think about the Mortal Instruments, because as we know, that's what this vlog is about. And Simon Lewis and all of the vampires in Cassandra Clare's world have to survive on animal blood. And I have to say that I don't like it. I feel like in Twilight, it was whatever. They were out in, rural Forks, Washington. It wasn't an entire... all the vampires didn't do that. It was just the Cullens. It made sense. That's what they... I don't know, they wanted to keep in touch with their humanity or something. They were weird anyway, they had a bunch of people just chilling out in a high school, so it wasn't like they were the typical vampire experience in that setting. But in Cassandra, in the Mortal Instruments, they are forced to drink animal blood. I don't even understand how they're meant to go about getting it, which is why I think I appreciated the show, because you could, maybe it's not realistic of me to expect, YA urban fantasy to go into the nuances of, is it morally or ethically correct for vampires to rob a blood bank? Because obviously places that store blood like that, like hospitals and things, are doing that to keep patients alive. And there are blood shortages, and sometimes, is it right for you to drink from the blood bank and not from a consenting person? I think that brings up an interesting discussion. But when you talk about these Shadowhunters, or these people going to a butcher and squeezing the blood out of raw steaks, that just is that's just comedy at that point. That's you want me to take that serious? That's a serious discussion that you want me to believe and be invested in? I can't do it, Susan. It's not going to be a thing that happens in my lifetime. I think that's just dumb. I think that's why I also appreciate about the Cullens. Yeah, the idea of Edward running after a deer and sinking his teeth into the deer is or Bella when she went out hunting for the first time, going and drinking from a deer is weird. But at the same time, at least they're hunting a living thing, their natural predator instincts are still there. But this idea that we're just squeezing the steaks for blood, what? That you're gonna go to the butcher who is bleeding the meat at this religious butchery to make the meat halal. You're just it's just weird. I'm sorry, it's just weird. And I don't think that I personally am invested in this they have to drink human blood versus animal blood debate outside of the execution. And I don't think it's particularly well executed in this narrative. I also think that, there just are a lot of other issues with Simon being a vampire, being that it happened completely at random. It happened, the sort of the changing process was very prolonged. I know that the first trilogy takes place over the course of like 3 or so months. Like it's a very condensed time frame. It's all within that same year. To be fair, all of her books take place within the same year. I think that's another issue I have with this franchise. Like the more I get into reading City of Glass and like seeing how expansive the world has become, like there's part of me that's just like, I don't know. I haven't read the books yet, but it's very hard for me to think like Valentine is meant to be like this really big evil force in the world, right? And yet there's the infernal devices that takes place before it. So it's like, what is meant to be the problem there? And even if the stakes are smaller there, then like how am I meant to be invested? I don't know. Like I'm sort of psyching myself out of like, or maybe I'm just like setting the bar really low for myself. Maybe that's what I can talk about. Like I'm setting the bar really low for myself because like Valentine at the time of the Mortal Instruments in 2007 is meant to be like the worst thing that, and not even in 2007 because Clary is 16, so what, she would have been born in the late 80s, right? Maybe? No, like late 90s. I don't, let's see here. So in 2000, she would have been 7. So that would have been like 7, which is 16 minus 7 would give you like what, 9? So she would have been born in 91. I was close. She would have been born in like 91. So I guess like the mid 80s, I guess, is when Valentine was like rising to power. You know, if you assume that he was, you know, doing the shit that he was doing before she was born. So I don't know, like it's just like that's like in the late 80s he was like the worst thing the Shadowhunters had ever seen, because everyone always makes reference to him and his circle, but I don't know, like I don't know. But that's what I really wanted to talk about, is how people drag Twilight for the animal blood thing, but I think that at least in Twilight it was executed well and in a way that made fucking sense, unlike here in Cassandra Clare land, where the shit doesn't make sense, and we just have to accept that. So, thanks for watching this part. Okay, so the time has finally come for me to record myself reading. So I'm about to do that, but before I get into that and adjusting the camera angle, I just wanted to talk about Magnus and Alec and their relationship, because for whatever reason, I really built up that Alec was this really important gay character to me growing up, or at least when I read it. And I don't really know how accurate that statement is, because I feel like the first time I read this series, I really only read City of Bones, and like you kind of know that Alec is gay in that book, and so like that was nice. But even if I were to go back to like my reread, the Alec Magnus relationship in the first trilogy is so trash. Like, it just is not there in terms of like really being any kind of meaningful representation. Like, yes, you have Magnus, who is an Asian bisexual character, and I'm not trying to take that away from him, but I just feel like in terms of them as a couple, like, it doesn't really manifest itself. And if anything, it's just a bunch of like everybody, Simon, Clary, everyone talking about Magnus, even Alec's attraction to Jace, which again is this sort of pseudo-incestuous thing where technically, I guess, like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, Jace wasn't really adopted, but they were raised from the age of like 9 or 10 as siblings. So it's like, again, like it's like this weird, it's just weird. It's just weird, and I don't really appreciate it, and I don't like what I built up in my head. So this, I don't know. I'm just now towards the end of this. I'm on page 310, so I was right earlier when I said I read like 10 pages before I went to brush my teeth. There's only 450, oh, 400, no, there's 541, I think. 541 pages, so I have this much left to read. This is the goal to finish. While I'm waiting to pick up my people, I will check in about an hour, let you guys know what I'm doing with that, and yeah, I'm gonna adjust the camera angle. Can we talk about this? Stuff like this is what I think really bothers me about this book. And I'm supposed to sit by while you date boys, fall in love with someone else, get married? His voice tightened. And meanwhile, I'll die a little bit every... Let's read this again. I'll die a little bit more every day. Watching. Bitch, you're talking to your sister. Like, that's just creepy. This is creepy, guys. I'm sorry. This is weird. Like, this isn't normal. Like, this is not challenged. And then, well, I guess Clary is like, no, you won't care by then. She said, wondering even as she said it, if she could stand the idea of a Jace who didn't care. Like, can she stand the idea of her brother not caring that she's getting the dick from someone else? Like, that's just weird. This is weird, guys. Like, this goes beyond anything that any of these authors are saying on Twitter, or I guess at this point that you're watching this, have said on Twitter. Although, just a slight, because this vlog is already going to be super long, I think when I finish this, I will be uploading this in parts. So I'll be doing this one, parts where I talk about my thoughts on City of Glass and City of Ashes, what I've already done. And then when I move on to the Infernal Devices, that will be a thing. When I will be doing it that way, but it won't be like read this series with me, because the idea of editing like a 6-hour thing is like, so I'm going back to the book. This could be the last night of our lives. Certainly the last even barely ordinary one. The last night we go to sleep and get up just as we always have. And all I could think of was what I wanted to spend it with you. I read that wrong. And all I could think of was that I wanted to spend it with you. Her heart skipped a beat. Jace. I don't mean like that, he said. I won't touch you. Not if you don't want me to. Really? Like, y'all... I don't want to start. I had to roll up the windows. I'm gonna die in this car, but... I know it's wrong. God, it's all kinds of wrong. But I just want to lie down with you and wake up with you just once ever in my life. There was desperation in his voice. It's just this one night. In the grand scheme of things, how much can one night matter? Again, this is to his sister. We are still in the time where he thinks this is his sister. This is not a conversation a brother has with his sister. Okay? Not with these undertones. Not with this, I want to fuck you, but if you don't want to fuck, we don't have to fuck. Like, that's weird. Weird. Because think of how we'll feel in the morning. Think of how much worse it'll be pretending that we don't mean anything to each other in front of everyone else after we spent the night together. Even if all we do is sleep. It's like having a little bit of a drug. It only makes you want more. But that was why he had told her what he had, she realized. Because if it wasn't true, not for him, there wasn't nothing that could make it worse. Just as there was nothing that could make it better. What he felt was as final as a life sentence. And could she really say no? And could she really say it was no different for her? And even if she hoped it might be, even if she hoped she might someday be persuaded by time or reason or gradual attrition not to feel this way anymore, it didn't matter. Okay. There was nothing she had ever wanted more in her life than she wanted this night with Jace. Again, we are still thinking they're related here. We're still in the situation where we think they are brother and sister. Close the curtains then, before you come to bed, she said. I can't sleep with this much light in the room. Come to bed, she said softly. It's late. Again, I think this is like a really interesting conversation between Isabel and Clary about how Clary is, again, really oddly attached to this man that she's known for like 3 months. If that. Like, I think it's a couple of weeks, but we'll say 3 months to be generous to Clary. And she's sitting here once, like, I think this is another hallmark of this series that I don't really appreciate, is this, like, constant fighting between Isabel and Clary, usually over stupid shit like this. Like, this idea that Isabel wouldn't miss Jace if Jace died, but at the same time, like, understanding that Jace is doing what he needs to do, or doing what he thinks he needs to do, and Clary is just like, no. I'm like, calm down, Clary, we know you want to fuck your brother. Oh, see, here we go. Isabel's going off. You think that's why Isabel broke off, her eyes bright, not just with anger? Clary saw with surprise, but with... Not just with anger, Clary saw with surprise, but with tears. God, you don't understand anything, do you? You've known Jace, what, a month? I've known him for 7 years, and all that time I've known him, I've never seen him fall in love, never seen him even like anyone. He'd hook up with girls, sure, girls who always fell in love with him, but he never cared. I think that's why Alec, shout out to him, I guess. Isabel stopped for a moment, holding herself very still. She's trying not to cry, Clary thought in wonder. Isabel, who seemed like she never cried. It always worried me, and my mom too. I mean, what kind of teenage boy never even gets a crush on anyone? It was like he was always half awake where other people were concerned. I thought maybe what had happened with his father had done some sort of permanent damage to him. Like maybe he never really could love anyone. Which, you know, Isabel out here being the real MVP, understanding that trauma impacts you. Yes, we stand Isabel. If I'd only known what had really happened with his father, but then I probably would have thought the same thing, wouldn't I? I mean, who wouldn't have been damaged by that? And then we met you, and it was like he woke up. You couldn't see it because you'd never known him any different, but I saw it. Hodge saw it. Alec saw it. Why do you think he hated you so much? It was like from the second we met you. You thought it was amazing that you could see us, and it was, but what was amazing to me was that Jace could see you too. He kept talking about you, all the way back to the Institute. He made Hodge send him out to get you, and once he brought you back, he didn't want to leave you again. Whenever you were in the room, he watched you. He was even jealous of Simon. I'm not sure he realized it himself, but he was. I could tell. Jealous of a mundane. And then after what happened to Simon at the party, he was willing to go with you to do more, to break Clave law, just to save a mundane he didn't even like. He did it for you, because if anything happened to Simon, you would have been hurt. You were the first person outside of our family whose happiness I'd ever seen him take into consideration, because he loved you. Again, this is kind of weird, because again, we're brother and sister, but again, here for Izzy dragging this bitch. Clary made a noise in the back of her throat. But that was before he found out you were his sister. I know, and I don't blame you for that. You couldn't have known, and I guess you couldn't have helped that you just went right on ahead and dated Simon afterward like you didn't even care. I thought once Jace knew you were his sister, he'd give up and get over it, but he didn't, and he couldn't. I mean, to be fair, Clary was dating Simon, but she still wanted that Jace dick, so she didn't really move on either. I guess Isabel don't realize that part, but I'll cut her some slack. I don't know what Valentine did to him when he was a child. I don't know if that's why he's the way he is or he's just the way he's made, but he won't get over you, Clary. He can't. I started to hate seeing you. I hated for Jace to see you. It was like an injury you get from demon poison. You have to leave it alone and let it heal. Every time you rip the bandage off, you just open the wound again. And every time he sees you, it's like tearing off the bandages. I don't know. I can't tell what you're feeling. You're not my sister. I don't hate you, Clary. I even like you. If it were possible, there isn't anyone I'd rather Jace be with. But I hope you can understand when I say that if by some miracle we all get through this, I hope my family moves itself so far away that we never see you again. Because you're accusing me of not wanting to protect Jace, but I do want to protect him. Why do you think I was so upset when you suddenly showed up at the Penhallows? You act as if you're not part of this, of our world. You stand on the sidelines, but you are a part of it. You're central to it. You can't just pretend to be a bit player forever, Clary. Not when you're Valentine's daughter. Now when Jace is doing what he's doing, partly because of you. Because of me? Why do you think he's willing to risk himself? Why do you think he doesn't care if he dies? Isabel's words drove into Clary's ears like sharp needles. Good, Clary, because a bitch needs to hear this. I know why, she thought. It's because he thinks he's a demon. He isn't really human. That's why. But I can't tell you that. Couldn't tell you that. Can't tell you the one thing that would make you understand. He's always been there when he's always thought there was something wrong with him. And And now because of you, he thinks he's cursed forever. I heard him say so to Alec. Why not risk your life if you don't want to live anyway? Why not risk your life if you'll never be happy no matter what you do? Isabel, that's enough. The door opened almost silently, and Simon stood in the doorway. Clary had nearly forgotten how much better his hearing was now. It's not Clary's fault. Color rose on Isabel's face. Stay out of this, Simon. You don't know what's going on. And again, here for Izzy. I'm gonna go back to reading silently, and we're gonna speed up, I guess. But that's not what you said when you walked in the room, said Simon quietly. You said, why didn't you ever tell me I had a brother? I know. Clary yanked a blade of grass out of the dirt, worrying it between her fingers. I don't know what that means, but okay. I guess I can't help thinking that if I'd known the truth, I wouldn't have met Jace the way I did. I wouldn't have fallen in love with him. I don't know. Simon was silent for a moment. I don't think I've ever heard you say that before. That I loved him? She laughed, but it sounded dreary even to her ears. You know why it sounds dreary? Because that's your brother. And you're saying you love him in a way that you want to sit on his dick. I'm happy you can recognize the dread in that. I don't dislike Jace, Simon protested. I mean, I hated him at first, sure. He seemed so arrogant and sure of himself, and you acted like he hung the moon. I did not. Let me finish, Clary. There was a breathless undercurrent in Simon's voice. If someone who had never breathed could be said to be breathless. He sounded as if you were racing towards something. I could tell that you liked him, and I thought he was using you, that you were just some stupid mundane girl who could impress with his Shadowhunter tricks. First, I told myself that you'd never fall for it. And then even if you did, he'd get tired of you eventually and you'd come back to me. I'm not proud of that, but I guess when you're desperate, you'll believe anything, I guess. That's not what it says, but I'm not going to read that again. And then when he turned out to be your brother, it seemed like a last-minute reprieve, and I was glad. I was even glad to see how much he seemed to be suffering. Until that night in the Sealing Court when you kissed him. I could see. See what? Clary said, unable to bear the pause. The way he looked at you. I got it then. He was never using you. He loved you, and it was killing him. Again, that's creepy. That's creepy. It's creepy. Is that why you went to the Is that why you went to Dumort? Clary whispered. It was something she'd always wanted to know, but had never been able to bring herself to ask. Because of you and Jace? Not in any real way, no. Ever since that night in the hotel, I've been wanting to go back. I dreamed about it. I'd wake up getting out of bed, getting dressed, and already on the street. And I knew I wanted to go back to the hotel. It was always worse at night, and worse the closer I got to the hotel. It didn't even occur to me that it was something supernatural. I thought it was post-traumatic stress or something. That night, I was so exhausted and angry that we were so close to the hotel, and it was night. I barely remember what happened. I just remember walking away from the park, and then nothing. So technically, Simon said, even though Jace isn't actually related to you, you have kissed your brother. Simon. Clary was appalled. Why, Clary? This is the part that I don't understand. Like, literally 30 seconds ago, like, literally, not even 30 seconds ago, like, 30 pages ago, she was like, yeah, we can sleep together. Like, yeah, I'll sit on your dick. Yeah, like, literally 30 pages ago. And now it's like, no, that's disgusting. Like, stop. Stop. Just stop. Just stop. Like, this isn't cute. Okay, I also think this is where I'm going to stop reading for right now, because this is like already an hour, and so uploading this and then downloading this is going to be a pain in the ass. So thanks for watching me read. I have lots of thoughts and opinions that I'm probably going to save to discuss until after this clip goes through. So this was a trip. Lots of thoughts and opinions, and I'll see you guys in the next clip. What is up, guys? It's me again. So after I finished the whole read with me, I kept reading for a little bit, like another 5, 10, 15 minutes. I don't really know. I have less than 100 pages to go now, so shout out to that. But I don't know if I said this in that clip or not, so I'm going to say it here just in case I didn't. But the fact that after Jocelyn reveals that Jace wasn't her brother, and then Simon goes on to tease her about kissing Sebastian, aka Jonathan, and she's like disgusted, just really highlights just how terribly handled everything in this book regarding that incestuous situation was. Because it's fine and dandy when it's, oh my goodness, you're my brother, but I was attracted to you, and it's different all of a sudden when it was like, I was attracted to you, but you're my brother. Like, it's just weird. Like, it's like there's no symmetry there. But also, I feel like this video is gonna be way too long, so I will be, I know I said earlier that I was going to like not upload this in parts, but bitch, this is getting uploaded in parts. So because I'm finishing this today, I'm gonna try and upload, I'm gonna try to edit this tonight and then have it scheduled to go up tomorrow. And then we're gonna just continue to vlog my journey through the series. Just because I don't really want a massive 5-hour video. I don't want to try to export that. Exporting 30-minute videos is already a shit task. So right now, I'm about to go pick up my other cousin, so I have another 40 minutes of reading. So we're just at the part where the big battle is about to happen. Valentine is gonna go raise Raziel. Jonathan and Jace are having a conversation about how, oh, you're so stupid. You really think Valentine's your daddy? Like, it's all, you know, classic stuff. And we're just gonna sit here and read that, and I'll get back to you with some concluding thoughts probably later tonight, not in the car. So here's to that. And I'll see you in the next clip. What is up? So I finished City of Glass, book number 3 in the OG trilogy. This is going to be the concluding clip for this part of the reading vlog. I know I've waffled a lot. I'm probably going to edit those bits out, but I did waffle a lot in how I was going to upload this. Even on Twitter, I was like, I'll upload it in the end of July. But just seeing the raw footage, like, an hour is long enough for a reading vlog. I'm not gonna try and like make people sit through 4 hours. So concluding thoughts. I feel like the ending was sort of anticlimactic. I do appreciate this though as a conclusion volume, like as a set. City of Ashes and City of Glass I think really work well together. Even City of Bones, that I can't really factor into this conversation because I read it like 2 months ago. But still, I really appreciated this volume. I'm very upset we did not get nearly enough Aileen Penhallow. I don't know where Aileen was during most of this book, but like she was at the beginning and then she sort of got attacked towards like the late middle, and then she popped up at the party at the end. I need more Aileen Penhallow in my life. So because this isn't going up in July, y'all in the comments need to let me know that I'm gonna get more of Aileen Penhallow, because if this, I guess she could be in the next 3 of this series. I guess she could be. That would make sense. Hopefully she is. Is she in City of Fallen Angels? You think that I would know that because I've read City of Fallen Angels and I've read Lost Souls, but I can't remember. Anyway, I liked how this concluded. I was a fan of it. I'm still annoyed about the incesty parts. I've talked about that already. I have my issues there. We can talk about that in the comments. Other than that, I don't think there was really anything. I didn't really care about the epilogue. I'm still not a fan of the Alec Magnus relationship and how it was depicted in this volume. But yeah, I think that's everything. After this, I'm going to be picking up Clockwork Angel, the first book in the Infernal Devices. So that will be the next sort of reading vlog that we go with. It's really hot in this car, so I'm gonna end it here so I can open this window. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'd love to have a conversation in the comments. Let's keep it to books 2 and 3. I don't mind spoilers, but like just as like a principle, like in my life, but I'm not on those books. So we're just gonna talk about Ash and Glass, and yeah. You can let me know your preferred reading order in the comments, because I'm going with the OG trilogy, then the Infernal Devices, and then the second half of Mortal Instruments. I'm not doing publication order. You can let me know down in the comments your thoughts on that. But wish me luck in editing this all together, because this is easily the largest amount of raw footage I've ever had, and I don't want this to be a total flop. So I look forward to continuing on in this series. I look forward to continuing these reading vlogs. Maybe I'm a little bit of a narcissist, but I really do enjoy having these conversations. These are the sort of conversations that I just have by myself when I'm driving to or from work, so I feel a little bit less awkward and weird about it that I'm actually sitting here and recording them. So I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in my next video, which I think is going to be, well, you'll see it. You'll see it when you see it. But hopefully it will be going up this week. And then I have the May wrap up I need to do, and I need to do my June TBR. So there are several videos that are planned. I haven't filmed them yet, but that's what I'll be doing. Not that it matters. So that's my life. I'm gonna go now. I've already said this like 10 times, but again, thanks for watching. If you stuck out this long, please leave a comment. Like, you've watched almost an hour's worth of me rambling. I think that I've given you something to engage with, so feel free to comment with that engagement. So yeah, I'm gonna go. Also, feel free to drag me for being a liar. I said this was not gonna go up until July, but so you can have that be your comment. But I'll see you in my next video, whenever that happens to be. But until then, bye.